scoring.
I'm Sydney Kohara. Join me for CNetNews.com weekends at 4 p.m. Eastern right here on CNBC.
CNetNews.com is brought to you by PeopleSoft. PeopleSoft. Customers, employees, suppliers. People power the internet.
This week on CNetNews.com, Microsoft gets hacked. Who broke into the company's computer system and what could they do with Microsoft secrets?
Who really reads the crystal ball on earnings? We'll compare the analysts' expectations with the whisper numbers to show you who came closer with forecasts for Q3.
Thousands are lining up for Sony's new PlayStation 2. We'll tell you why most will go home empty-handed.
Tech leaders took internet world by storm this week, among them AOL's CEO-to-be. He'll share his plans for the powerhouse company, assuming its mega merger with Time Warner goes through.
There's never been any question in our mind that this merger wasn't going to get done, and that's how we're behaving.
Is technology taking a backseat in this presidential campaign? Some of the industry's most powerful players say yes. We'll reveal how they plan to vote.
Plus, the unauthorized Steve Jobs biography. Is he a genius, a tyrant, or both? We'll ask the author.
On air and online, this is CNetNews.com.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. I'm Richard Hart.
And I'm Sydney Kohara. You're watching CNetNews.com.
Our top story, industrial espionage. The FBI is helping Microsoft track down some hackers who broke into the company's computer system. Microsoft discovered the intrusion on Wednesday. It apparently originated in Russia, and the hackers did gain access to some key programs. However, Microsoft claims no code was tampered with. Security expert Richard Smith told us the approach the hackers used to get into the system is actually quite common.
The attack looks like it came through email, which is the sort of the simplest way to get stuff to come in now. And it's tough to, monitor every little thing that every little person does at a company. So all it takes is one person to have a breach.
But does this tell the rest of the world that if Microsoft can be compromised, nobody is safe?
Well, yeah, I think it does. I think that sends that message very strongly here.
With us to discuss possible ramifications of the security breach for Microsoft is Michael Kanellis, the senior editor at CNetNews.com online. Michael, what do you see as the biggest issue surrounding this hacking job?
Probably is how do you keep these kind of attacks contained? I mean, Microsoft is not going to be able to keep intruders out, but how do you keep top secret information like source code for future products out of those hands?
Really, it's scary because if it can happen to Microsoft, it can happen to anyone.
Oh, exactly. In fact, it's funny, 10 years ago, a lot of the chip companies used to have like fake break-ins. They would break into people's desks to make sure they didn't have top secret information. That's totally pointless now. You can now get it online if you're clever enough.
Wait a minute. You just said Microsoft is never going to be able to prevent intrusions. Never? Really?
It's like guarding the border. I mean, every email account in Microsoft, every time an employee is on the road, every time they use DSL, someone can figure out how to get into Microsoft corporate.
This sounds like an Austin Powers script. Russians using Chinese software break into a Microsoft computer. Is this so kind of surreal?
Absolutely. And what's interesting about it is these are countries, Russia, China, some say India, the Philippines, have phenomenally sophisticated programmers. They're very clever and left to their own, some people left to their own devices are going to be doing things like this.
Steve Ballmer of Microsoft said that nothing was actually taken, but come on, isn't it a little too soon to tell?
I think so. They did have access to source code for future products, so they have the blueprint for future software products from Microsoft. Did they copy it? But did they copy it? Do they know it's there? Nobody knows. We know they saw it.
Well, if Dr. Evil soon offers an operating system called Mini-Me, we'll know he got the Windows code. All right. Michael Kanellis from News.com online. Thanks for joining us. Well, the hack doesn't seem to have hurt Microsoft stock. It closed the week up about $3.
Though the Dow charged ahead, the NASDAQ ended the week lower than it started. Most of the negative sentiment, though, didn't come from missed earnings, but rather from the grim warnings about the next quarter.
Already 81 names in the S&P 500 have pre-announced their earnings from now until the end of the year won't measure up. That's more than any other quarter in the past 5 years. So, how can you tell the good investment from the bad? Melissa Francis joins us now with some answers.
Hopefully I have some answers. Well, these past few weeks, we've been hearing a lot about analysts' expectations. A couple of weeks back, we introduced you to the founders of WhisperNumber.com. Their site allows average investors to come up with their own estimate, what they call the Whisper Number. So who did better this quarter? Listen closely before you decide whom to bet on in the quarter ahead. The Bulls stood poised to make a move, waiting for word of this quarter's last batch of earnings. Among the winners who beat analysts' expectations, Amazon.com. 80% sales growth there surprised investors. High-tech monster JDS Uniphase also beat the street, along with internet software developer Inktomi and search engine AskJeeves.com. CEO Rob Rubel says his company adjusted its strategy in light of the slowdown in online advertising.
We really have just said to the marketplace, we see the same kind of softness that I think others have experienced in the traditional banner business.
On the break-even side, Lucent Technologies met expectations along with Excite at Home, Compaq, and Nortel, though all four warned of weakness in the fourth quarter ahead. But as this earnings season comes to a close, the larger story seems to be just how many times the analysts' estimates were off target. One person who's asking why is John Schur.
Why aren't they coming closer to the actual number? These analysts should have better information.
But they don't. According to Schur and partner Paul Hoke, the average investor has a better chance of discerning a bull market from a bear by doing their own research on the internet. And as a result, the team founded WhisperNumber.com.
Whisper number originally was defined as what an analyst was whispering to its favorite client.
Today, Whisper Number is a site where non-professional investors can exchange information and reach their own consensus number about a company's profits or losses for the quarter. This quarter, the results proved they may be better analysts than the analysts themselves. Their estimates were closer to the actual earnings number 65% of the time. And even more critical to investors trying to make money ahead of those announcements, stock prices seem to be more sensitive to hitting or missing the Whisper number than the analyst's consensus number.
You could beat a consensus number, but that didn't mean that the stock was going to see a rise in price. What we're seeing is that a company now needs to come in and actually beat the Whisper number to see a rise in stock a higher percentage of the time.
It's really just a game when you come down to it.
Patrick Dorsey interprets the signs of the market for Morningstar.com. He believes that no matter who is setting the estimates, the craze that sweeps Wall Street every earnings quarter is leading investors astray.
Companies weren't built to be run 3 months at a time. When you're building a business, when you're trying to create shareholder value and gain market share, that's a long-term, 3, 5, 10-year process.
And he says the hyper-focus on target numbers can prove especially dangerous when where a company will come out seems to be anyone's guess.
People's earnings projections just got way out of line with what was humanly possible. And so we saw a number of companies disappoint, their stocks got crushed, and now we're right back where we started from.
Regulation fair disclosure went into effect during the final week of this earnings season, severely limiting the amount of guidance a company was able to give analysts. Several analysts I spoke with for this story agreed that ruling takes away yet another edge analysts had over the individual investor.
And it sounds like the analysts are going to have to work a little bit harder for their money.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right. Melissa Francis, thanks very much. There's excitement at Excite at Home. The leading provider of high-speed cable internet access remains upbeat about its third quarter earnings report, even though it posted a loss. Excite lost more than $41 million, or 10 cents a share, on revenues of almost $170 million.
Excite at Home is shrugging off, though, its negative earnings. I spoke with the company's CEO, George Bell, who says that he's willing to lose money to gain new subscribers. Tell us more about that strategy. Has it been working?
It has. If you look at the number of broadband subscribers we added, which is principally where the investment went, we added 510,000 subscribers this quarter as opposed to 300,000 last quarter. So enormous growth rate on subscribers. Our gamble was invest now at the early stage of the broadband market to harvest higher growth rates, and Q3 was a validation in that way.
Excite's customer base hit more than 2 million at the end of Q3. Bell has repeatedly stated he expects his company to acquire 3 million subscribers by the end of this year. And he continues to forecast strong numbers going forward. 6 million customers by 2001, 10 million by 2002. Jupiter Research senior broadband and broadcast analyst Dylan Brooks says the company is well positioned to succeed.
Excite at Home, contrary to a lot of perception in the market has, in fact, largely delivered over the last year and a half in growing into the single largest broadband provider in the U.S. It continues to grow subscribers at a pretty healthy rate.
George Bell isn't just concerned about increasing subscribers. He's also helping in the search for his own replacement. As we reported in September, Bell plans to step down when a suitable candidate is found.
Is Byron Smith still part of that process? He is your executive VP of Consumer Broadband Services.
He is. We've never said that he is or isn't part of that process, just to be clear. In fact, right now, the purpose of the search is to cast as wide a net as possible. Might even include yourself. So the point of this is
This year has seen a tumultuous turnover in management at Excite at Home. Top-level executive staff has been juggled a couple of times, and the company acknowledges that more shifts in management could come before year's end.
I think very few companies would honestly argue that a large amount of turnover in their senior executive level is good for the company.
Still, some analysts and Wall Street remain bullish on Excite. Subscribers pay an average of $40 a month for service, and a growing customer base means revenue should increase over time. Brooks discounts any real short-term threat from competitors like Roadrunner, AOL, and Microsoft. And Bell says Excite's future isn't totally tied to growing its customer base.
that it's not the number we're pegging to. The point is to tell the street over and over that the thing that matters is the scalability of our network, and ultimately the market forces driving people to broadband. The fact is this stuff is on fire.
And don't blink now, there could be another name change in the future for this company, back to simply Excite.
Well, there are name changes and more in store at AT&T. CEO C. Michael Armstrong made a dramatic announcement this week that Ma Bell will split into 4 separate companies. The move is seen as an attempt to reverse a stock slide that dropped AT&T shares to 52-week lows. According to the plan, AT&T Business will be a parent company, which Armstrong will lead. The 3 other companies will be AT&T Consumer, AT&T Wireless, and Broadband. AT&T Consumer will have its own CEO and tracking stock. Many analysts remain skeptical of the company's plan, calling it a confusing artificial shell game.
Well, coming up next on CNetNews.com, Sony's PlayStation 2 is finally on store shelves. So what's raining on the gamers' parade? We'll find out why getting one of those popular systems might be practically impossible.
Plus, a new website is sure to bring out a little inventor in all of us. We'll tell you how IdeaDollar.com could turn your creative concepts into cash. And
every major and minor tech player spent the week in New York. I'm Hari Srinivasan. I'll have the latest and greatest from Internet World when we come back.
Go online at work or while working at home? Next time you're on the internet, go to the new Netscape.com. Faster searches, instant messaging, a customized start page. The new Netscape. Power and ease of use. It's free at Netscape.com.
If the tangled web of wireless technology leaves your head spinning, relief is just a click away at CNet Wireless. We'll help you make sense of the wireless world, navigate through the maze of wireless products, and get you smart before you buy. From cell phones to service plans to PDAs, CNet Wireless educates you on the best products at the best prices. Get smart about wireless technology. Log on to wireless.cnet.com. CNet.com, the source for computers and technology.
In the new Internet economy, 96% of the Fortune E50 run Oracle. Oracle. Software powers the Internet.
I had a tough time learning how to read. My son Neil has the same reading and decoding difficulties. Kathy and I have helped Neil, but one thing's for sure, his teachers and our schools have helped Neil read a lot better. As your representative, I'll always put schools first. It's where our kids and Oregon's future begins.
Doctor, do
You seem certain of my client's guilt. Could you be wrong?
I'm an expert. I don't make mistakes.
I see. Tell me, do you have a satellite dish or AT&T digital cable?
Objection, Your Honor. Irrelevant.
A dish.
A dish. So you can't watch different shows on different sets at the same time.
Well,
unless you pay more.
But I...
Admit it. Digital cable gives you lots more channels than before.
I've made a terrible mistake.
AT&T Digital Cable. It's smarter.
The internet took center stage in the Big Apple this week. More than 50,000 internet professionals descended upon New York for Fall Internet World.
And senior correspondent Hari Srinivasan was one of them. He has been on the scene all week, tuning into the buzz and meeting the high-tech heavy hitters as they roll out new technologies and talk about hot-button corporate issues. Hari, what do you have for us?
Thanks, Sydney. As you know, Internet World happens twice every year, and it's an amazing opportunity for every major tech player to get out here and strut their stuff. Now, it's also an opportunity for all the little guys who want to be the major tech players in the coming years to get out and demo their products and hit the show floor. The show here at this fall's Internet World isn't just the companies who are behind me, but also the companies that couldn't make it. We found an interesting booth down on the floor calling itself the Internet Graveyard, with tombstones for all the .coms who died along the way and who weren't, of course, able to join us for their product releases. One product that did manage to get out the door was America Online 6.0. It's the latest version of their software, but that's not the only news for that company. Earlier this week, they had announced that they have extended their discussions with the Federal Trade Commission. Now, the FTC was supposed to decide this week on whether the pending merger between America Online and Time Warner would go through or not. One of their key executives, Barry Schuller, was here to deliver a keynote at Internet World. He's the man scheduled to be CEO of AOL pending the merger. I had a chance to sit down with Mr. Schuller and discuss the pending merger discussions, as well as AOL's latest product, as well as his plans to take AOL to the next level as CEO. So tell me about AOL 6.0. How important is it in the evolution of AOL software?
Well, 6.0 is actually our most comprehensive update in the history of AOL. And, you know, it's a really important product, we think, from two angles. One is every major feature that people love and use is getting an upgrade. So it's new mail, new address book, better calendar, a whole new shopping platform. But I think the part that really stretches into the future is that AOL 6.0 is a connect to anything and go anywhere product. We think over the next year or so, people are going to start wanting to connect using high-speed modems like DSL or cable modem or satellite connections, and AOL 6.0 will connect to whatever you want to connect to. And people are also starting to think about wanting to get their mail on wireless devices like phones or interactive TV. And AOL 6.0 is really the hub of our AOL Anywhere strategy.
Now, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't start talking about the FTC. How come the 2-week extension, doesn't that sort of open you up to possibly more antitrust kind of regulators looking in a little deeper?
I think that, you know, what's going on is really consistent with what we've said is going on. We said we're in the home stretch. We said we're confident that we're going to get this done, and that the talks with the FTC have been very constructive. We are in the home stretch, and we believe we'll have this done this fall.
Now, would AOL be willing to open up access to its cable lines, or there have been concerns about instant messaging standards and platforms as well? If those were conditions for the merger to go through, how far is AOL willing to go?
Well, look, you know, we've been a champion of open access in cable, and we think that we're providing leadership to the whole cable industry in opening it up. We think as AOL Time Warner will provide leadership to the industry in opening broadband pipes. As far as instant messaging goes, we've said that we're moving to interoperability. We don't see anything that, you know, the government might be asking for that we aren't doing anyway.
Now, one of your colleagues a couple of weeks ago, said that, you know, we're operating as if the merger is going to go through. Where's the confidence all coming from?
Well, it comes from the fact that, you know, this is a vertical merger. There's really no overlap between our business. There's never been any question in our mind that this merger wasn't going to get done, and that's how we're behaving.
So if this merger does go through, you're going to be in a tremendous position here, the new CEO. What are the challenges that you're going to be facing to take AOL to the next level?
Well, I think, Steve Case had a great vision when he started the company, and that was to make online as ubiquitous as the telephone and television, and a really valuable medium in people's lives, and I think we're only part of the way there. We're an hour a day in 25 million homes. There's millions more, and there's the rest of the 23 hours a day that we think we get to through the television and phones and a whole bunch of other devices.
As you saw, Schuler is very confident about America Online's prospects. Now, we should mention that MSN's Explorer product also launched on the same day without as much fanfare. This is, again, one more revamp of MSN's product, and the software is very much like AOL. It's a bundle. It's actually a simple client that's free that bundles all the services that Microsoft has to offer on the internet. So look for some competition, hopefully, in that space in the next few months to come. That's the latest from Internet World. Richard and Sydney, back to you.
Okay, thanks, Hari. We'll see you in San Francisco next week. Senior correspondent Hari Srinivasan.
America Online was also in the news for trying to jump into rival Microsoft's antitrust case. AOL asked permission Wednesday to file a friend of the court brief in an effort to bolster the government's case against Microsoft. Those briefs are meant to provide the court with advice or additional viewpoints on a case. Trade organizations supported by Microsoft competitors have filed briefs in the case, but AOL is the first company to do so on its own.
Still ahead on CNetNews.com, CNet Radio's Brian Cooley discusses the week's hot news from the high-tech world.
And video gamers are going to great lengths to get Sony's PlayStation 2 in their grasp.
Relax your body. Free your mind. And soothe your spirit. Enter your own quiet world. Presenting Quiet Moods, your escape to a relaxing world. Quiet Moods, the most beautiful music ever recorded. Quiet Moods, more than 3 full hours of music that will lift you up and soothe your spirit on 3 CDs or cassettes. Quiet Moods will work for you. We guarantee it. Discover the soothing world of Quiet Moods. Here's how to order.
To order Quiet Moods, call 1-800-935-3993. That's 1-800-935-3993. Or send $24.99 for 3 cassettes or 3 CDs, plus $4.95 shipping and handling to Quiet Moods, Department 1, Richmond, Virginia 23280.
Gamers are rejoicing because Sony finally launched its long-anticipated PlayStation 2. It rivals Sega's popular Dreamcast, and it has touched off a buying frenzy in the gaming world. With only a limited supply of units, though, out there, fans in New York and San Francisco brave the elements and long lines to buy that $300 system. Only 500,000 PlayStation 2s hit the market this week, so gamers are willing to do almost anything to get one.
If I don't wait here yesterday and today, I'll be waiting probably at least 3-4 months to get the system. So for me, it's completely worth it.
This is completely absurd, but you know, it's the law of supply and demand at its best.
When it comes right down to it, this is for video games, and if video games are this important to people, that I know, not that I'm going to say it's sad, but it's kind of sad. But then again, I guess I'm a hypocrite because I'm in line waiting for video games, and I'll be stoked if I get one.
We just got to be the first. That's the thing. See, everybody wants to be the first to have the PlayStation 2.
Some are speculating that Sony's holding back PlayStation 2 shipments to increase the hype, but the company blames the limited supply on component shortages. Sony says it plans to pump out 100,000 PS2 units a week to meet holiday demand.
No doubt the new PlayStation was a hot topic with a lot of people during the week, so let's turn to Brian Cooley of CNet Radio now to hear more about that and the rest of the hot button buzz from Brian's listeners. Brian, what about it? You think this is just Sony manufactured hype, or is what you're hearing a real sensation?
I've got a feeling that this is relatively real, Richard. Some of our listeners who called in who work in Silicon Valley in the business of manufacturing. So they've taken a look at some of the reports of the components that go into a PlayStation 2, and from their guesstimate opinion, they say, yeah, this thing is using some components that are in short order and frankly are very expensive as well. We've also talked to some other people who say they've looked inside this box, who work for some professional research firms who are also listeners, and say they're not making much money on this thing. This is a pricey little box to make. They make all their money on game titles. So it seems to give credence to the idea that the parts are in short supply and that this is going to be a little bit tough to make more than, what is it, $500,000 for the initial push.
All right, now a few analysts and observers are trying to make it the PlayStation into more than just a play box, sort of a Trojan horse for a set-top box or a computer for Sony. But we're all going to have to be a little bit more careful about hype regarding set-top boxes, I take it.
Especially if you live or work in Redmond, Washington. Microsoft's Web TV division has had to get its knuckles wrapped pretty hard. And a lot of folks are interested in the fact that they felt they were led down the primrose path by the idea that Web TV was marketed as a complete solution for internet access. The Federal Trade Commission's gone after Microsoft, and they have just this past week gotten them to launch on a very interesting consumer education campaign. And people are saying, well, what are they going to be telling me? They're going to be telling you that Web TV is no replacement for a PC to get on the internet. Their earlier advertising, the government said, was trying to make that sort of fudge point that you don't need a PC, get Web TV and you've got everything you need for the net. Well, obviously that's not true, but it's kind of a humbling thing for Microsoft to have to go out and do a public education campaign. I can't wait to hear what the feedback is from people once they've seen this air and run in print.
I'll say, and you've got some feedback. I know you can't go into all of them, but some surveys and some research into what's on people's minds also, right?
And you know, we keep being fascinated by what people are actually searching for, and once again, the latest hit counts on Lycos of what people are searching for in terms of search terms still are not relating to the things that matter. The presidential race, the USS Cole disaster, Middle East situation, Halloween, top of the stack, right up there with Pokemon. I haven't seen PlayStation 2 show up in the top 10 list, and PC Data's latest on the biggest growth among websites. I think 2 of the top 10 fastest growing relate to Halloween and costume purchases, so that continues. So
right.
We're a funny bunch.
And maybe next week we'll be talking about Napster.
Well, don't hold your breath,
okay,
but
right.
yeah, maybe we'll get a decision by
Brian
next week.
Cooley, thanks for joining us this
bet.
week and every week. You can listen to Brian on 910 AM in the Silicon Valley region or on the internet simply by going to cnetradio.com.
And still to come on CNetNews.com, our IPO forecasters assess the slim pickings hitting the street this week.
Also, we'll ask industry leaders why the presidential candidates are ignoring tech.
Mass culture.
Love one. Need one? Want one. One easy number for you to get and give for phone, fax, cell, email, business, and home.
Where do you find inspiration? What if the things you do every day could be done with tools so instinctive, using them would be like riding a bike? If technology became your silent partner, imagine what you could imagine. We believe it's time to move beyond information technology to inspiration technology. Welcome to the new IT from Compaq.
Running our own e-business suite, Oracle saved $1 billion in 1 year. How much will you save? Oracle. Software powers the internet.
In 4th grade, our kids score better in math and science than most other countries. But by 12th grade, they'll fall behind 80% of the countries in the industrialized world. The longer they stay in our schools, the worse off they are. The problem isn't our kids, or parents, or teachers. It's the system. And our our kids are never going to catch up until we open it up and give parents more choices. There is a better way.
House will come to order. The clerk will call the roll.
Butler, Close, Deckert. Deckert.
Ryan Deckert was absent without excuse for 129 votes last session, more than any other House member.
Deckert, not answering.
Ryan Deckert was even absent without excuse for the most important vote of the session, local school funding.
Deckert, not answering.
Don't we deserve a senator that will show up to work?
Hardy Myers says it's a tragedy for Kip Kinkle's picture to be on television. Under Hardy Myers, Kip Kinkle could have been released in 4 years. And what a tragedy that would have been to the loved ones of the victims.
I wrote Measure 11. I had to go around politicians like Hardy Myers and go directly to the people. That's why Kip Kinkle will never be released. Hardy, you opposed Measure 11. I support it, and Oregonians have a right to know that.
Vote Mannix, Attorney General.
You know, taking a company public lately is a lot like a horse race. You'll get out of the starting gate along with everyone else, but with unpredictable track conditions and, boy, those investors going heavy on the whip, it's been a real gamble for all involved. Even as some tech companies balk at the gate, a few still feel that they're ready for the Derby. And today we're going to talk about a couple of them that are coming up this week. They are Metavante Corporation, Optical Communication Products, and Nextel International. And our venture capitalists here to discuss them are Ira Ehrenpreis of Technology Partners, and from Walden VC, we have Phil Sanderson. Guys, welcome. All right, it's supposed to be a time of celebration for these companies coming out. Usually you think you're going to get a big first day pop, but now it just seems like there's fear and trepidation just trying to test the waters.
Listen, if your analogy to the IPO process is a horse race, then betting on the right horse today is the name of the game. The weaker companies are having a much more difficult time than before, and the strong ones still are getting out and doing well.
I think it's still an exciting time, but far less companies are getting excited.
All I can visualize are those jockeys, you know, the investors and VCs beating on those poor companies, trying to get them to go out and do well. Let's take a look at our first IPO now, Metavante Corporation. Metavante is an application service provider which helps facilitate internet banking and financial services. We have 16.5 million shares being offered, $10 to $12 a share, the expected offering price, so it could raise almost $200 million for the company. Trading symbol here is MVNT. Revenue for '99, $546 million, net income of more than $36 million for the same period. And take a look at this company. We've got another spin-off here. We've been talking about a lot of these lately.
That's true. This is another spin-out, and the primary rationale for these spin-outs is to unlock the value of a division of a company or a unit. The other reasons that these companies are doing that are greater strategic focus, enables capital financing flexibility, and really gets the companies able to strengthen the management incentives for that core unit.
Quickly, this is a spinoff of Marshall and Isley's data services unit. It's offered services for more than 35 years. Big clients, but also some big competitors here, right, Phil?
Yeah, it's definitely a concern. The ASP solution for the financial industry and the internet banking makes a lot of sense, and they've got a lot of clients and they're profitable. But I'm concerned about the growth in this industry, plus they're up against EDS, S1. They also decrease their filing range, which can also be, yeah, that can be an indication that the roadshow isn't going as well and there's less demand.
It's supposed to be 11 to 13, now it's 10 to 12. Okay, what do you think, guys?
I think it is competitive. They do have 19 of the 20 largest banks in the U.S., but given the competitive space and the potential lack of growth, I'm not too bearish on this.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't buy it at this time.
Okay. Let's move on to our next IPO. This one is Optical Communication Products, Inc. The company does what the name says, designs, manufactures, and sells optoelectronic subsystems for fiber optic networks, enabling high-speed transmission of data. 10.5 million shares offered at $10 to $12 a share, a $126 million deal. Trading symbol here, OCPI. Revenue for '99, $36 million, net income of $7 million for the same period. Okay, we've got another profitable situation here, but boy, optical networks, the last bastion of like some good investing, and I tell you, it took a beating.
Yeah, these guys are a core technology company, a core play in this optical space, but you're right, Nortel, Lucent, Copper Mountain all got crushed last week. Copper Mountain missed their numbers, Lucent had a change in management, but it's still a great space. There's been a lot of demand, as you say, for optical companies, and I'd expect this company to have a good run.
It's got good growth too, though, doesn't it?
They do, and they have an all-star lineup of customers. They have Cisco, 3Com, Lucent, Alcatel. They have, the thing I have with this company is that the top 10 customers account for 3/4 of their sales, and that always worries me.
Okay, we've got to take a closer look at that. So, what do you think after listening to all of this?
I would buy it. I'd be concerned, though.
Optical's still hot, you think?
Absolutely, a lot of demand. They're going at a high valuation, and I would be careful at their first quarter out of the box that they may miss the numbers, given that the expectations are going to be so high on all these optical companies.
Sure, but still, what do you think, Ira?
I still think the optical space is hot, and I think this will have a pop.
Okay, just had a little bump in the road there. Our next IPO is going to be Nextel International, Inc., which handles all the global wireless operations and investments for parent company Nextel Communications, headquartered in Virginia. Well, this is a whopper, 45.5 million shares offered at $16 to $18 a share, an $819 million deal. The trading symbol here is NXTI. Now, that is not to be confused with the parent company, which is NXTL. Revenue for 99, 104.5 million. Net loss, though, here, wow, 520 million for the very same period. Big deal, big money, big underwriters. Now, does that guarantee success? Come on.
I don't know. I think we're all hesitating here. You know, some of the other spinouts like AT&T Wireless are down off their IPO. A lot of companies have tried to get out in the space, haven't been able to, like Clearwave, IPCS, IWO. And this is a proprietary technology play. You know, SMR, specialized mobile radio, may get leapfrogged in the future by digital PCS or others in the 800 megahertz space.
And this is a classic example of where the risks are in having that parent company spin out a company like Nextel International. Because of the proprietary technology, there's going to be some conflicts rising out of the priorities of the business opportunities, as well as having to stick with the core technology that the parent company has.
But quickly, what about the opportunities for global, global growth?
These guys are focused on Latin America, Brazil, Mexico, Argentina, still huge areas of growth, and that's why this could very well be a monster IPO.
All right, so what do you think, Ira?
I would be hesitant based on valuation. This is one where they do have the terrific underwriters behind it, but it's going out at a very high valuation, about $5.5 billion.
And it's got a lot of debt, too, doesn't it?
It really does, $2.4 billion of debt.
Yeah, this is too much of a risk for me. I'd hold off on it.
Okay, that's how we vote on Nextel International. Remember, for a complete list of upcoming IPOs, be sure to log on to news.com and check out the IPO Center. I think you'll like it. Phil Sanderson of Walden VC and Ira Aaron Price of Technology Partners. Thanks for joining me today. Stay tuned to CNetNews.com. The author of a new Steve Jobs tell-all will tell us why he calls the Apple co-founder a tyrant and a genius. And who are technology's leaders voting for in the presidential election? We'll find out.
Are you making do-or-die decisions about your company's enterprise-level technology purchases? Don't do it alone. CNet Enterprise delivers everything you need to know before you buy enterprise software and e-services. On CNet Enterprise, you can compare features on more than 800 software products and find unbiased opinions from analysts, users, and our editors. Let CNet Enterprise help you make informed decisions that save you time and money on the front end and the back. CNet.com, the source for computers and technology.
Go online at work or while working at home? Next time you're on the internet, go to the new Netscape.com. Faster searches, instant messaging, a customized start page. The new Netscape, power and ease of use. It's free at Netscape.com.
Companies that know the internet best know where the business internet really starts. 96% of USA Today's eBusiness 50 run Oracle. Oracle software powers the internet.
Technology issues have not been at the top of the political agenda in this year's presidential race, but both George W. Bush and Al Gore have powerful backing from the tech industry.
Key leaders, including Michael Dell and Netscape co-founder Marc Andreessen, openly favor the candidate they believe will support the tech industry. Wendy Walsh joins us now to get out the vote. Wendy?
Thanks, Sydney. Well, the technology sector is a very powerful force in the race for the White House. I talked to some industry heavyweights to find out how they're influencing the campaign and which way the tech vote is likely to swing.
The high-tech industry has traditionally stayed away from politics, but since the Microsoft trial, the role of government in the industry is being hotly debated. Recently, the high-tech agenda is creeping into the presidential election campaign.
If you had sat here a couple of years ago and said that broadband or open access were going to be agenda items in the presidential election in 2000, and made that statement as recently as 2 years ago, I would have strongly disagreed that those issues would matter.
In televised speeches and debates, the candidates have been somewhat vague and non-controversial about high-tech topics.
I've been involved myself in negotiating and in helping to move along the negotiations with the internet service providers to get a parents protection page.
There ought to be filters in public libraries and filters in public schools so that if kids get on the internet, they're not going to be pornography or violence coming in.
Political analyst Jay Stanley says the candidates may be deliberately vague to avoid offending the tech industry.
Both candidates are understandably anxious to tap into this huge new source of technology wealth that's emerged in this country in the last decade, and neither of them really wants to anger this powerful constituency. And so they're muting their opinions on a lot of the controversial issues.
But that doesn't mean the candidates agree on high-tech issues. Each candidate represents a fundamentally different type of government that could affect technology regulation, or lack thereof, for years to come. Floyd Kwame is a part-time cowboy and full-time partner at Silicon Valley venture capital firm Kleiner Perkins Caulfield & Byers. He is also an ardent Bush supporter.
He's real people to me, and that really attracts me. He is an entrepreneur. He understands entrepreneurism. He's not a professional politician, which I think is a certain danger in a democracy. And those are just some of the reasons, besides the policy reasons, that I felt he was the right person for the job.
Kwame first got involved in politics in the '96 presidential election while campaigning for Bob Dole, now a member of the Executive Council of TechNet, a bipartisan high-tech political action committee. He says he's noticed a recent surge of Republican support from industry leaders. CEOs Scott McNealy of Sun Microsystems and Michael Dell have both announced support for George W. Bush.
Of the companies that have greater than $1 billion in sales, I think something like 90% of them are on the Bush bandwagon, and that would include the John Chamberses and the Jim Barksdales and the Gordon Moores from Intel and Craig Barrett from Intel, a whole host of our CEO leaders.
Some analysts say lines are being drawn in the tech industry.
Like many industries, the top people support Republicans because Republicans tend to be much more hesitant to regulate, and Democrats tend to look to government solutions much more quickly.
Basically, I think our generation has an incredible responsibility to get this thing right.
Kim Palese, Marimba Software Chairman and TechNet board member, supports Al Gore.
I know for a fact that Gore has really been out there in front for the last 8 years. People were making fun of him when he talked about global warming and cloning back in the 70s. He's been there. He's got the experience.
Along with Palese, Loud Cloud Chairman Marc Andreessen and Chief Yahoo Jerry Yang are also Gore supporters. They're also part of a new Democratic network, which supports a limited role for the government in tech policy.
It's this careful balance between wanting to foster the growth of this industry, but also maintaining, constitutional principles and issues around privacy, some basic fundamental rights that we have as citizens that we can't throw out the window just because the internet's here.
Now, Wendy, I'm sure that high-tech executives are going to be following this closely, but seriously, how concerned is the average citizen about the tech stance of the candidates?
Well, that is a good question, and I think that Kim Palese said it best when she said that people may tune out when it comes to politics in general, but they don't tune out when it comes to things like their own privacy on the internet, technology education in schools, or government policy for immigrant tech workers. Now, a lot of these policies are changing our daily lives, so I think it's a fair guess that people will consider tech when they're at the voting booths.
All right. Thanks very much, Wendy Walsh.
Well, Apple founder Steve Jobs is one of the most celebrated and perhaps feared men in Silicon Valley. A new unauthorized biography of Jobs attempts to define this powerful player. No easy task. Alan Deutschman talked to nearly 100 people before writing The Second Coming of Steve Jobs. This book chronicles what happened to Jobs after his ouster from Apple in 1985 to his triumphant return in the late 90s. And Alan Deutschman joins us now from New York to share some of what he learned. Alan, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Your goal now was to get past the media persona of Steve Jobs and discover the real man. What was the most surprising thing that you learned?
I was very surprised that Steve Jobs almost went out of business in the early 90s. He came very close to going broke and to having spent almost the entire fortune he made the first time around at Apple. He really considered giving up, and I thought that was fascinating.
You describe Steve Jobs as both a creative genius and a manipulative, abusive tyrant who delights in ridiculing employees. What kind of evidence do you have to back that up? What kind of stories did you hear?
Oh, he, has a penchant for verbally abusing and humiliating employees to the point that one of the co-founders of Pixar wound up in the hospital. One of the creators of the original Macintosh sank into a deep clinical depression after having been berated by Steve in front of the rest of the Apple staff. And this man wound up years later being arrested for throwing rocks at Steve Jobs' house in California.
Let's talk about how hands-on, though, Jobs is at Apple now. I mean, does he really decide the menu at the company cafeteria?
Oh, he does. I mean, he was asked at an employee meeting, what do you dislike most about this company? And Jobs replied, the food. And the next week, he had fired the entire staff at the company cafeteria, hired the chef from his favorite upscale trattoria, and all of a sudden there was all this tofu and vegan food on the menu. I mean, Steve Jobs picks fonts personally for company materials. He obsesses about the background color of the slides for his presentation.
So for the big picture man, he's into the small things then.
He is. He has minute attention to detail. I mean, I don't even think it's micromanaging. It's maybe you have to call it nano-managing.
Listen, I understand Steve Jobs is not happy about this particular book. He even called the CEO of Random House to complain, I understand, calling this book a hatchet job. How do you respond to that?
Well, we like the publicity that we got from having the subject of the biography complain, but I don't think it's a hatchet job. I think it's a fair, balanced portrait of an extremely complex and fascinating figure who is both brilliant and creative and charismatic, but also has a very serious dark side.
Yeah. Interesting read and a lot of very interesting stories here. Alan Deutschman, author of The Second Coming of Steve Jobs. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Still to come on CNetNews.com, online columnist David Corsi gives us his take on the week's big tech news and offers the real reason AT&T is unbundling itself.
Plus, we'll find out how would-be inventors are using a website to cash in on their creations.
Love one. Need one? Want one. One easy number for you to get and give for phone, fax, cell, email, business, and home.
Can your business afford downtime due to bad power? Can your enterprise avoid power disruptions? Who ensures availability for more networks worldwide? APC. Power management solutions wherever data is created, transmitted, or stored. For a free downtime analysis, go to iwantapc.com.
The great thing about outboard motors is how they turn effortlessly. Imagine if we put them on a 142,000-ton ship. We did. ABB, brain power.
One easy number for you to get and give for phone, fax, cell, email, business, and home.
Another reason CNBC.com's portfolio tracker has been called the best on the web. Stock quotes updated every 2 minutes. CNBC.com. Profit from it. The
proud new home of the Senior PGA Tour, CNBC.
8 years ago, my daughter Lisa was senselessly murdered. Despite a confession, the murder was out in less than 28 months. That's why I'm involved with Crime Victims United. Recently, the Oregon Supreme Court set free a man who was sentenced to death for raping and killing a 2-year-old. Only one judge voted against letting the killer go, and he is retiring. Now you can fill that seat with the one candidate who offers the kind of courage and common sense we need on the Supreme Court. The one candidate Crime Victims United is endorsing, Greg Byrne.
The Oregonian says Eileen Qtub is misleading voters to conceal her right-wing record.
Eileen Qtub cast the deciding vote against reasonable legislation to close the gun show loophole.
Eileen Qtub's record shows her lack of commitment to the children of Washington County.
That's why every newspaper in the district, hundreds of Washington County teachers, and local law enforcement have endorsed Ryan Deckert for state senate. Ryan Deckert, you always know where he stands.
And technology.
Well, at one time or another, we've all had an idea for an invention that we thought would be great, but we just didn't have the wherewithal to take it to market. Haven't you had a good idea?
I think the solar-powered windmill idea I had could have really taken Silicon Valley by storm, but I could never develop it. So we all know there's a little Edison in all of us, and we're looking for a reward for having a good idea. There's a new website that promises to deliver dollars for ideas. Coming up with a bright idea doesn't cost a dime. Turning it into a product, on the other hand, could cost a fortune.
Right now, the inventor pays to have ideas. You pay a patent attorney, you pay to have your idea marketed, you pay to have your idea prototyped.
So Mark Terrell and his partner Andrew Wainwright want to change that with a website called ideadollar.com.
Many inventors spend tens of thousands of dollars to actually do anything with their idea. We thought that was not the right way of running the industry. It shouldn't be a service industry.
Idea Dollar offers to secure patents, build prototypes, and hand out dollars for good ideas. Here, you submit your idea online, and if it's good enough, you get up to $100 in store credit at participating Idea Dollar merchants, such as Amazon.
But the thing is that since each idea may actually turn out to be a great idea, we have a separate team who's going through the ideas to look for the nugget of an idea that could be turned into a multi-billion-dollar product.
There has to be patent research.
So even though the immediate amount of money might be zero, they could still be getting a nice fat check at the end of the day.
Good product ideas are sent to the R&D lab, where veteran inventor Rodney Shields brings them to life.
We call it a glow glass. It lights up.
I suppose it looks great in a dark room.
Oh, it does.
Since its launch in August, Idea Dollar has filed for 22 patents. A typical invention? How about a waterproof shower poster?
Then we have the back shaver for guys with hairy backs or women with very long legs.
Robin Williams, are you watching?
The company currently has 100 ideas in development and buys roughly 500 more a week from people like computer programmer Jennifer Soller.
Well, my first idea is for a bicycle computer that can, in addition to telling you the speed and the RPM and maybe even the calories that you're burning, it would also tell you the grade of the hill that you're climbing.
The clients aren't all amateurs. Mark Cantor created the company that became Macromedia, home of the software hit Shockwave. Since then, he's overwhelmed with ideas.
I've got all these ideas sitting around. I've got journals full with ideas, and there was nothing to lose to throw them a couple of bones and see if they could run with it.
Okay, we have the gun, we have the silly string. It clips together.
Ew, it's a bad can.
That's a bad
Canning the bad ideas and identifying the good takes 8 full-time employees and 100 outside experts. Here's an idea. Why not just have a computer program single out the winners?
The truly good ones, it'll always take a human to identify. But we ought to be able to identify whether an idea is, whether it exists out on the internet already. We can do the patent search automatically. All these kind of things can be taken care of with technology.
Until then, the employees will have to entertain some pretty crazy ideas, including sheep gardens, kitten bombs, and musical urinals. But Terrell says the company needs only one successful product each year to stay in business.
Basically, our company, we only really see one big problem in the future, and that is that if people run out of ideas, we might have no business. That's highly unlikely to happen.
Idea Dollar is now finishing up licensing contracts for 3 ideas. By the way, they've given out $15,000 already in iDollars, I should say, online. And they expect to make $30 million by the end of their 2nd year.
Wow. I mean, well, the new ideas never cease.
These guys had a good one, I think.
Hey, listen, you know, we've got David Corsi here, and he's always full of good ideas.
I'm
What do
looking
you
forward
have?
to the shower poster myself. It's coming out in February, and they've promised me the first one, actually.
Britney Spears, is that
yes,
the one you want? Yeah, right.
Yeah, not the one. I'm going to be on one of those shower posters. Okay.
What's on
Some
your
of these
mind?
are too scary to think about, actually.
See Michael Armstrong.
Yes, see Michael Armstrong. See Michael Armstrong run. Run, Michael Armstrong. Or is it run from Michael Armstrong?
The head of AT&T is now going to break the company up again into 4 companies. It sounds like a good idea for investors if the stock value of the individual companies goes up.
Some of the comments are it's a good idea for Wall Street, that Wall Street banks are going to make a lot of money off of it, but that investors, well, we get 2 years of AT&T once again trying to decide what it's going to be when it grows up. We have the repudiation of the big concept. You know, you had a problem. You know, you wanted AT&T, you wanted to buy your phone from them, your cable, and why did you want that?
Because it would make my life simpler and maybe even make it less expensive.
So you'd get one bill, one vendor. Well, now it's 4 bills or 5 bills from whomever.
I get 4 bills from
AT&T. And we get TCI back, the most hated company in America. Was going to be absorbed into AT&T, get an image improvement, but now it's going to get spun out again.
You know, taking a look at this, though, do you think AT&T can it survive going through all this turmoil and the others are chugging along?
Sort of an open question. I think we found they couldn't survive trying to bring everything together. Now can they survive the amount of time it takes to throw it apart? Certainly there will still be an AT&T, and there are businesses here. But the idea of this synergy, whenever a CEO type, they start talking about, oh, we're going to bring all of this stuff together and it's going to work so well, just turn and run the other way.
Just one final question. You have met C. Michael Armstrong.
Yeah, I thought he was the most vacuous CEO I had ever met in my life. Now, it was not his best day, I'm betting. But
the head of the Lucent spinoff recently got the axe.
Rich McGinn. Rich is a good guy.
Now, Armstrong, though, is...
I've interviewed him before, and I really, of course, I think it was in better times, but he's always exuded this air of confidence, and I thought it was...
AT&T has always had these executives who looked like they were sent from central casting to be a CEO, kind of the Martin Sheen of West Wing. These guys come in and look like the president of AT&T.
Now, certainly the most confident CEO you've ever met has to be Steve Jobs, right?
Easily the most self-confident CEO that I have never quite met because... when given the opportunity, well, I did not feel like some of his behavior in the past warranted sitting in the room with him for a couple of hours, so it was an opportunity I passed on.
Are there any CEOs that you like, or are they all...
I like Michael Dell. Michael Dell has been, I haven't seen Mike in a little while, is the only CEO I know who doesn't have a diagnosis. An easy diagnosis that you can, look at them and say, this is what's wrong with the guy, this is why he's doing this. Certainly one of the few.
So there are some good guys.
There are great CEOs out there.
Right. Also, I should mention my feather transplants for bald eagles as a final idea. David,
how about the rotating basement restaurant? I like that one,
that
too.
wasn't mine. Okay, David Corsi, thanks very much. Online columnist that you can reach if you just send your ideas and comments here at david@corsi.com. And that's it for this edition of CNet News.com.
Remember, you can always watch any part of today's show online with a high-speed connection. I'm Sydney Kohara.
And I'm Richard Hart, online and on TV. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
CNetNews.com was brought to you by PeopleSoft. PeopleSoft. Customers, employees, suppliers. People power the Internet.
Companies that know the Internet best know where the business Internet really starts. 96% of USA Today's e-Business 50 run Oracle. Oracle software powers the Internet. In the new Internet economy, 96% of the Fortune E50 run Oracle. Oracle software powers the Internet.